The A+Feminism Delusion. Link to the blog in the low bar. Firstly, I'd like to say hi to my new friends, readers and subscribers, both on my blog and on my YouTube channel. Welcome to my world. It's small, but make yourself comfortable. I think a number of my readers will appreciate this post, mostly the ones still on the fence about feminism. If you're the kind of feminist I'm talking about and disagree with something in particular that I say, try appending whether they know it or not to the sentence and see if that clears it up. I don't mean to be patronizing, but I don't want to have to suffix every statement with it. I've been keeping a critical eye on feminism lately, most notably on its hand in the goings-on of the A+Theism movement. I should clarify, like Richard Dawkins, I too am sympathetic for true feminism, if there is such a thing among the straw Scotswoman mania, the kind of feminism that is about equality between the sexes in letter and in practice. Equality is awesome, and it's something worth fighting for. Non-violently if possible, please. But that's not where feminism is now. Feminism has become an irrational gender ideology over the course of the last 2 decades at least, one that has recently scrubbed up and donned the suit of pseudo-skepticism over it, most notably Free From Thought blogs and Skepchick. The reason I rail against feminism is because it stands in the way of true equality, and its significant political and social influence is not one I can ignore. There are many horrifying stories that simply go untold. Let me recap quickly why feminism does not equal equality. Feminism starts with feminist theory. These are the presuppositions that feminists have to accept as true. The gender narrative. Men have been oppressing women for decades, centuries, millennia. The wording varies from source to source. And have created a society in which men are inherently superior and women are inherently inferior. This generally falls under the term patriarchy. I'm not a history buff, and I was born in the 90s. But it doesn't make sense to me that for these centuries, women stood idly by until now to seek liberation. It makes more sense that this is a reinterpretation of history to coincide with an ideology. From that standpoint, equality is leveling the playing field to bring women up to the status of men. In other words, positive discrimination. It's okay to discriminate against men because they have the upper hand. Women's issues are more important than men's issues because we live in a male-dominated society. They could just fix men's issues at the drop of a hat if they wanted to. This, for many reasons, is a delusion. It's the same kind of delusional thinking involved in blaming Satan for all the evil things in the world. If you start with a false premise, you come to false conclusions. And beliefs inform actions, which ultimately come back around to you and I. While feminists' goals are, in letter, equality, they are in fact making things worse. Here's why. Feminism shoves the ideology that women are always the victim down your throat. Repeat it with me. Women are the victims of the world. Say it enough and it might start to sound true. There are many statistics that feminists love to bring out, but you must keep in mind that many of these statistics come from feminists in academia. I exposed the 1 in 4 statistic in a previous post. I've seen 1 in 3 and 1 in 6. In terms of actual academic work, this is about as acceptable as creation science, but lay people don't make any distinction. Feminist science is pseudoscience. Feminists attribute almost everything partly or wholly on the patriarchy, and an explanation that explains everything explains nothing. I won't go as far as to say that the patriarchy theory is complete bollocks, but it's definitely used as a fill-in-the-gap explanation or justification for way too much. For example, tell me if you've heard this one. Any woman who seeks the attention or acceptance of men or agrees with MRAs, men's rights activists, are only doing so because their patriarchy-programmed brain is telling them to, or something along those lines. Excuse me? I'm sorry if I have the audacity to hold the opinion that women are capable of making their own decisions and are responsible for their actions as adults. The infantilization of women is a recurring theme within feminism, implicitly and explicitly. It's just one of the things that they're supposedly against, but they are also perpetuating. I'll just say this right now. If we want equality, that is, for men and women to treat each other like adults, then we have to do away with this special treatment business. We have to not jump in to defend women from their own decisions as if they were children. Your daughter should not indefinitely be daddy's little girl, and that's of course in response to Jen McCrite, rhymes with wrong, her father, and his blog post. I'll link to that. And we have to respect and acknowledge their decisions as their own. It sounds like common sense, doesn't it? Feminism claims to offer freedom and liberation for women who are oppressed by men. All of them. The radical notion that women are people. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? And that's what it is, nothing but a feel-good ideology for privileged women. And it's time to expose it for what it is. The male feminist is a bit more of an interesting case. I think there are a few facets to this. I'll list them, but I won't really go into depth. 1. The visceral urge to protect women and put them above men, which generally manifests itself in white knighting and chivalry. 2. The need to fit in with others in a social circle who hold that ideology. That goes for all ideologies. And 3. Being misled with regards to the true nature of the ideology. In other words, thinking that feminism is actually about equality and isn't anti-male. I've said before that we need a more principled approach to gender equality, and I'll just expound that statement. We need a method that is based in reality, not based on exaggerated fears and feelings. And what do these fears and feelings bring us? Schrodinger's rapist. Fear-mongering has gotten to the point that it's just a matter of pragmatism to consider every man a rapist. You're a rapist, you're a rapist. I don't know if you're a rapist, but you probably are. It's just convenient to assume every man wants to hold you down and violate you, because you don't know who is and is not a rapist. This is stupid for a number of reasons. Firstly, I thought it was common knowledge that most, somewhere around the range of 4 and 5, rapes occur between people that know each other well. For example, marital rape. And I might add that the only statistic this is based on is an uncited 1 in every 6 American women will be sexually assaulted in her lifetime. Really just a token statistic to justify creepy men scare me. But if you want to live your life in childlike fear, that's your prerogative. Forget violent assault, mugging, and the other N things a stranger could do to you that aren't in your best interests. Do I hear anyone on board for black men to be labelled Schrodinger's mugger? A lot of heat has been pouring down on the men's rights movement lately. Take the recent poster teardown extravaganza, for instance. Girl Rights What did a video on that, which you can check out. I'll link it in the low bar. And then a Jezebel piece was written about it. Men's rights activists don't deserve the benefit of the doubt, which contains this gem. Do the members deserve the right to free speech? Seriously? Did I just read that? I have a real problem with the institutionalized othering that goes on within feminism, and to a larger degree, A+Theism. I've talked briefly about how divisive it is and why it causing a schism is bad. A few thoughts on this. Empathy and peace are begotten by understanding and celebrating our similarities, instead of finding our differences. Hatred, violence, and abuse are enabled by distancing and othering. Look at any major conflict in history. There is an element of, they aren't like us, we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. That makes it okay for us to eliminate them, silence them, etc. Isn't othering what enabled the KKK to go on about its hateful way? I'll just leave that there as some food for thought. A quick note here though. One of my readers left this childish remark in the last A+Theism piece. Hate on these guys all you want, I guess, but your hissy fit seems far more us versus them and divisive than the stuff you linked to. I hope it's clear that my criticism isn't intended to be hostile or divisive, and there's no hating going on or us versus them, apart from that which you've so creatively invented. Unless you view a discussion in which parties do not agree with each other and slap each other on the back, and unless you see that as us versus them. I wouldn't be surprised though, as the notion of, if you're not with us, you're against us, isn't novel among A+Theists. Some atheists who have dropped their religious dogma have just as excitedly adopted feminist dogma. And it's unfortunate that some of the big-name atheists have sold out on being free from dogmatic ideology and latched onto something more exciting, more volatile. That's all I've got to say for now. Have a nice day.